Okay. So, for today's session, we are going to be discussing model verbs for you. Okay. So, we'll start with a basic discussion on that. So, we're going to basically look at two things. One is how does this work functionally, and how does this work grammatically, that is structurally, right? Which is what we've been doing for most of the other things as well. So, last time when we we're looking at articles, prepositions, adverbs, adjectives, this is the same, I think, trajectory that we have taken up, right? So we look at both the structure and the function of the thing at hand, right? I'll share the document with you very soon. Now, since we are anyway discussing, I do not want to display the worksheet right now to you. So we'll finish off the discussion, just quick 5 or 10 minutes of it, and then we can progress to doing the worksheet. Okay. So a few things about this model verbs. One thing is that model verb, it's abundantly found in both speaking as well as writing, right? So they have functions across the spoken language as well as the written language, right? And most, um, you know, uh, commonly model verbs are usually, most commonly they are used to indicate levels of high politeness or formality in our speech, right? So usually when you're including model verbs in particularly in the written language, right? So more often than in the spoken language, in written language model verbs are usually encoded so that you can bring up the levels of formality, make it formal, which by which we mean that we make it more polite for the formal context, right? So this is the common function. But then, of course, as the name suggests, it has other modalities to represent. Okay, modalities means these are different attitudes that a speaker can take up while being in a conversation, whether that is in speech or whether that is in writing, right? So, what are these various modalities? So, the more commonly represented modalities in the English language will include possibility, right? You have something like the modality of possibility, then you have the modality of ability, then you have also certain other functions like obligation and necessity, right? You also have probability, or what is also known as likelihood, right? Sometimes we refer to it as likelihood, sometimes we call it probability. So these are some of them. And then in addition to these, you also have other modalities of expression like the expression of the hypothetical, right? Hypothetical, or what we call as unreal, or what is called the imagined, right? So largely, these are the various modalities of expression you have as far as the English language is concerned, right? So we are not concerned with a comparative analysis across languages. We are only going to look at the model verbs and its use in the English language, right? All languages will have um, these expressions of possibility and ability, obligation done by some means, right? Some linguistic means, some element in the language might be used for the expression of all these modalities that we have listed. But in the English language, it's usually expressed through what we call as the modal verbs, right? Which means verbs are usually the ones that take on the burden of this expression, right? In other languages, it is not necessary that the verbs would do this function. Some may have verbs which act as, modalities of expression, but they could have other categories or other parts of the speech which can perform this function of expression of modalities. In English, too, you have a category called adverbials, which can take up the duty of the modal verbs, but we're not going to discuss that since you do not anyway have it for your syllabus. And also because we do not want to complicate it, this is English 1. So maybe you will meet some of them in English 2, right? So when you're going to do a bit more advanced levels of the language, you probably will be introduced to the adverbials. But for this course in English 1, for your syllabus, we are going to remain and we're going to continue talking about the core modal auxiliaries, right? So we're not going to take up anything else. So these
Ma'am,
are the common modalities of expression. Yes.
ma'am, is this lecture recorded?
Yeah, of course it's recorded.
Ma'am, but when we open the recording link, it shows request access is not
Yeah, I
means.
think this thing has been answered quite a lot of times. You're not allowed to access the recordings. You will have to access the sessions on the YouTube playlist link. Okay, so you don't get a direct access to the recording.
Okay,
Do not
ma'am.
click on that drive. Don't go to the drive. Please use the YouTube playlist link for access. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So, for modalities of expression, then we also have a category called semi models. Again, we won't take up that for discussion for this class. You will have a detailed discussion on the semi models again in English too, right? So, for our class or for your course, what we are concerned with are the 9 major model auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary because they also perform the function of the auxiliary. They're not main verbs. So you can't have a modal verb in a sentence. You cannot use them without the help of another main verb, right? You need both. So both main verb and the modal verb is required, or rather, modal verb cannot be used on its own. So which is why we also call it an auxiliary verb, right? Auxiliary verbs also perform the same way, right? They also need the support of a main verb to make its full expression. So, uh, core model auxiliaries, 9 of them. Can you tell me what those are? Oops. Yeah, what are the 9 core model verbs in English? I'll start it for you. Can, could. What are the rest?
Ma'am, it is may, might, should.
Ha.
Shall,
May, might,
would,
yes.
will, would,
Shall,
might.
should, yes. You have will,
Will,
Ma'am,
shall,
they,
should,
would.
dare also, I think.
Which one? Sorry.
Dare
might,
or need.
Ha. So
and
I've
can,
already
could,
listed can,
may,
could,
might,
may, might,
shall,
shall,
should,
should, will, would. There's one more
and
with
must.
must, right? So you
Yeah.
have can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, right? These are the 9 core model verbs. These take up the function of showing or expressing the modalities that we just discussed, right? Of possibility, ability, obligation, necessity, hypothetical, unreal, imagined, and several other things, right? Probability as well. Now, one thing that you need to remember is that modal verbs they could be used to show different modalities. For example, if I take the modal verb can, right? Let this be the first point of discussion. Okay. Uh, what the context in which I can use can are many, right? So I can use it to show several modalities of expression. So let us discuss this with the help of examples, right? So I say something like, I can swim. What does this show? What is the expression here? When I say I can swim, what is the
Ability.
modality? Yeah, so this is what? This is ability. So I'm showing my ability. When I use a word like, sorry, the modal verb can, I'm primarily using can in this sentence to express my ability to swim, right? Now look at a different scenario. I have a sentence like, um, it, one second. Okay. Can you pass the pen, please? So if this is the sentence that I have, right? Can you pass the pen, please? So what am I using here?
Permission.
Okay, let's say this is permission. Okay, so I'm using can for permission here. Can you pass the pen, please? Okay. Now, next scenario. It can be a virus. So look at this sentence. It can't be a virus, right? So what am I doing here? I'm now using can in its negative form. This can't, right? So what is this expression? It can't be a virus. Is it
Then
showing us
possibility.
Is it possibility? It can be a virus. It's a possibility, you're right in some sense, but it's a more stronger possibility. So if it's a very strong possibility, then you say certainty, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, certainty. So it can be a virus. Now look at, see, I can't say it can be a virus and then call it certainty, right? So only in its negative expression can I use the modal verb can to show certainty. If I instead had something like it can be a virus, this sentence cannot be used to show an expression of certainty. What is this? It can be a virus. This is just a general possibility. Okay, a very general possibility in the sense that the modal verb could would give you, right? So it could be a virus. It can be a virus. Would both give you the same kind of a meaning, right? However, in the day-to-day use of English language and the modal verbs in English language, you prefer could over can because could has more of, it has more frequency of usage to show general possibility over can. Okay, so for showing certainty or very, very strong possibility, you use the negative form of can, which is can't, right? Okay, what are other examples with can? So look at this example. I can drop you on the way. Look at this example. I can drop you on the way. What does this show you? This is not ability. This is not possibility. This is not, no, ability. Is it really? Am I talking about my ability to drop you on the way?
No, ma'am.
No, right? So what is this? You're making an offer, right? You're
Yeah,
making an offer. In this case, you're making an offer. Okay. Now, if I say, there is another example, okay? There is a talk by, there's a talk by the Nobel laureate in the evening. You can join us too. So look at this sentence. There is a talk by the Nobel laureate in the evening. You can join us too. What is this one? Is it possibility?
no,
Offer.
Right. So what is, this is an invitation, right? This is an invitation. So the previous case, there's a difference between offer and invitation. This one is an open invitation to attend something, right? So if you look at all the examples of the sentences that we have just spoken here, just written down here, you'll see that the same modal verb can be used to mean different modalities, right? Different, they give you different expressions of modality. So this is the case for most of the other modal verbs also. I've just discussed one with you. This could be the case with all the other modal verbs that we have with us, right? So the point is they can have multiple meanings. Okay, all of them have multiple meanings, and the core meaning, however, would remain one. So while can be used to mean many other things, right? Like we discussed just now, the core meaning when you use can is always of ability, right? The most prominent meaning that the modal verb can express for you is that of ability, right? So it is on us that we look at the sentence and we understand what is the expression of modality that is being talked about in the sentence, right? So this was to just make you understand that there's a possibility of different meanings. And then, of course, one is a core meaning, then there could be other meanings, and there's one more meaning that some of these modal verbs could carry, like particularly the modal verbs like could, would, might, right? And even should, right? Even should. These four modal verbs, in addition to their core meaning, they are more commonly also used in the formal context, where you need to make the situation a bit more polite. If you want to make your speech or your write-up a bit more suitable for the formal context to make it more polite, then these are the four modal verbs that you will see being used more prominently over others, right? So in addition to the core meanings that they have, they'll also have the additional function of exhibiting politeness or adding politeness factor to your speech or writing, right? So this is one point, and we'll look at the core meanings for the other ones also one by one. But this is one part, one functional aspect of model work. Now, if you're going to talk a bit about the structural aspect, so like we discussed, you can have both positive and negative forms of model verbs. Like we discussed, can and can't, right? You have could and couldn't. You have will and won't. You have would and wouldn't. You will have may and may not, might and might not. So may and might both won't have a contractive form, right? Like the other ones. You can write a short form or a contractive form for all the other forms, including must. You can write mustn't, right? But for may and might, you cannot have a short form, a written short form, but you can say may not and might not, right? Negative form is available, but not in the contractive form, right? And one additional thing as far as the grammar part of model verb is concerned is that model verbs do not carry tense on them, right? So a very common misconception is that could, model verbs like could and would and might, they all are past tense forms of, can and will and may respectively. That is not true. They're all separate model verbs. They have their own core meanings associated with them. They're not past tense forms of each other. Okay. So to show past tense in a sentence with a model verb, the sentence will have to have some other element which is explicitly a carrier of the tense. So let's look at an example here. I could swim when I was a toddler. If you look at this sentence, right? So a lot of people would want to interpret this as a past form of the model verb can. Could used as a past form of the word can. Is could used to show ability here? Yes. Okay. But here it doesn't mean ability in past. This is ability in past, but the past tense information doesn't come from the word could. Where does this come from? Which part in this sentence tells you that this is ability in the past, if not could?
Ma'am, when I was a toddler.
When I was a toddler, right? So that part of the sentence, which encodes the past tense form of the verb be was, is what that part is responsible for telling you that this is an action that we are talking about that has happened in the past. So that is what tells you this is about ability in the past, not could. Okay, could is not showing you that. So point here is that modal verbs do not carry tense on them. They are independent verbs. And to show tense on them, you will have to encode other elements that are responsible for showing tense in a sentence, which I think you probably would have already heard how that works in the lectures on tenses, right? So these elements are separate from the modal verbs. They do not act as carriers of tense. Okay. So structurally, this is also a very important point that you must keep in mind, right? So their function is only to show the expressions of various modalities that we discussed. They do not show time, right? Time reference is not coded on the modal verb in a sentence in English. Okay. All right. So now let's look at the core meanings for each of the 9 auxiliaries that we have. So can, what is it? The core meaning would be of ability, right? It has several other expressions like we discussed, but the core meaning always associated with the use of can as a modal verb in a sentence would be to show ability, right? So similarly, what does could show us? What is the function of could? What does it express?
Ma'am, past ability.
Or polite request.
Possibility. No. So that is not core, no? That is additional function. I'm asking what is the core meaning. So can shows ability and could shows what? Possibility,
Past
right?
ability.
Possibility,
Yeah.
not past ability. Possibility. Okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
possibility, but a special kind of possibility, something like a general possibility. Okay. So there's no gradation onto this. I'll talk to you why I mentioned general possibility, because there are 2 other model verbs which also have the function of showing you possibility, which is their core function. But could will tell you general possibility. So what do we mean by general possibility? So if I have a sentence like, it is cloudy, it could rain, right? So now just because it's cloudy, it's not necessary that it would rain, right? Sometimes the clouds could just blow away as well. So when I say it is cloudy, it could rain, I'm only indicating a very general possibility, that a general outcome that is associated with cloudiness, right? So this is called indication of general possibility. Okay. Let's look at the other model verbs, and I'll show you the distinction as we reach the other ones, which shows you possibility as well. So how about what is the next one? Can, could. Okay, will. What does will show you? So this will is different from the future tense marker will, which gives you predictions of future, right? What does this?
Further certainty, ma'am.
Okay, not certainty. So the core meaning will involve what you call as intention. So I think by certainty you probably are trying to say intent or intention. So I will finish the assignment by 5 p.m. So this is an intention, right? Is an intent. Your intent is to finish it by 5 p.m. So one function is intention. Now, there's an additional function. So look at this example. I will bring you a pashmina shawl as I return from Kashmir. So what am I doing here? I will buy you, or I will bring you a pashmina shawl as I return from Kashmir. More like a promise, right? More like a promise. So I'll bring it when I come from Kashmir, right? So more like a promise encoded in the using the modal verb will. So first one is intention, second function is promise, and then last is also threat, right? I will report you to the supervisor if I find you cheating in the exams, right? So three different uses of the modal verb will. One, to show intention. I will finish my work by 5 p.m. Second one, I will bring you a pashmina as I return from Kashmir, showing promise. Third one, I will report you to the supervisor if you are caught cheating in the exam, right? So three different scenarios, three different modalities where you can use the modal verb will in its core meaning are intention, promise, and threat. Okay, keep this in mind. Please do not use will that shows prediction, right? So prediction related will use is always as a future tense marker. That is different from this will. Okay. Then, okay, would. How about would? Would shows you what we call as hypothetical, unreal, and imaginary, right? The function is this. So if I say something like, if I were you, I would have done it a different way. If I were you, I would have asked him to go and meet with his parents. If I were a bird, I would have had all the liberty to fly away at any moment I wanted, right? So more like a hypothetical, unreal and imaginary situation is encoded using the modal verb would. Okay. More like what if scenarios. Okay. Scenarios that are not real, but more hypothetical and imaginary. So that is the core function of would. Now, as I discussed before, would is also used to add politeness factors. That is its secondary function, okay, or rhetorical function as we call it. But the core function would be to show a modality that is hypothetical or imaginary in nature. Okay.
What is the meaning of hypothetical?
Hypothetical means something that doesn't exist, something that you're only hypothesizing. You do not know if it is real or not, or most probably it is not real. Okay. Or you do not know of its existence yet. Okay, that is called hypothetical. Right. So can, could, will, would, and then next you have shall. Right. Shall. Where do we use shall mostly?
Future intention, ma'am, informal way.
Yeah. So yeah, shall actually in the English language at least shall is something that has become very obsolete now, right? So its usage is very limited because most of the functions that shall can perform is now done by the will, right? Will has taken up most of the roles. So shall is now limited to contexts that are largely very formal in nature. So if you want to formally, formally seek permission, okay, then we use shall. And then one other place where you use, sorry, one second, formal permission. And then other places, legal obligations, right? When you have to make something legally obligatory, in that context also you use shall. So example would be for formal permission, um, shall we leave for the meeting by 12? So this is a formal expression, okay? And informal would be can we leave, right? So shall is like a formal permission, okay? There's another word that you use for formal permission, which is may. That is the most formal, okay? When you use may, that is the most formal levels that are indicatives. But shall is somewhere in between, the less formal version can and the more formal version may. Okay. So something in that sense, could and shall will have almost the same meaning. So if you say, could we go to the movie today evening? This would be considered formal, but less formal than may. Same thing if I say, shall we go for the movie in the evening? I think could and shall will be almost at the same level, but may is very formal, right? That is extremely formal. So shall is then used for formal permission and then legal obligation. So legal obligation, in fact, actually, they are also moving away from it lately. But even today, still in the legal documents, you will see the use of shall very prominently, right? So when if you read through the verdict documents and all that, you will see that uh, the legal practitioners are very used to writing, um, say, verdicts, or even when they're imposing fine on someone, they have a system of using shall above anything else, right? So the petitioner shall pay a fine of 1,500 rupees, 1,500 in amount against the complainant's thing. So they use this as a to show legal obligation. That is to show that the person is legally bound to do something, right, by law. So these are two core areas where you use shall. And then should is more commonly used for giving suggestions. So whenever you are giving suggestions to people, or even giving advice for that matter, you use should. Okay, suggestion and advice. Shall for formal permission, legal obligation, should for suggestion and advice. And then comes may. So may and might are both used again to show uh, possibility. But there's a difference between could, may, and might, right? In could, I told you that we usually mean to give a general possibility of the action to take place. With may and might, there is a degree variation, right? So if I'm saying may, it may rain in the evening. What I'm actually trying to say is that there are very high chance, right? There's higher chance of raining, right? It's almost like I'm sure that it will rain. I say it may rain in the evening. So higher possibility or higher chances, likelihood is quite higher in this case when you use may. Similarly, when I use might, right? Again, we use it to show possibility, but lesser possibility, right? Lesser possibility. So I say it might rain. What I'm trying to say is that not very sure. Okay? Not very sure. It's not a certain thing. When I say may, I am almost more than 50% sure that there's going to be a rain, that the chances or the likelihood is quite high. But when I say might, that chances get reduced abysmally. Okay. It's just indicative. I do not know if it will happen for sure, but it might, right? Very less chance, but it might. Okay. So that is may and might, and could's difference of showing possibility. Okay. And then you have the last one, which is must. Must is what? It's used to show obligation. Okay. Obligation and also necessity, right? So are obligation and necessity the same? What do you understand by the word obligation? So I'm obliged means what? we've seen these words very commonly in at least formal letters, right? So what is obligation? No? So when you prepared for this lecture, you did not look up what obligation is? So two things, you're obliged to do something because either it is a law or a rule, right? So we are obliged to do something because it's either a rule or a law. So we have no way out of it. We have to oblige. Okay? Oblige to the state means you obey the rules or the laws that are set by the state, right? Or if it is more like a personal obligation or something that is more social, then it's a promise that you have made, right? So you're obliged to talk with your parents and you're obliged to talk with your PhD supervisor. These are two different things, right? Second obligation is more like a duty, or it's more it's a duty kind because by law I'm supposed to meet, right? I should have meetings with my supervisor, so I'm required to do that. It's a requirement. In the first case, it's a promise, right? It's more like social obligation is not a necessary requirement, but the second one, the legal and the formal obligation is something that is required, right? And which one is the obligation and necessity? The necessary kind of obligation, the formal and the legal ones, right? I am obliged to meet with my, or I must meet with my supervisor on a weekly basis. This is what? This is formal obligation, necessary. It's a duty. By law, I need to do that. So I must talk to my parents. Is this a formal obligation? No, right? This is what we call a social obligation or obligation on a personal level, which is also called self-imposed obligation. So this obligation is not strong. This is a weak obligation, right? Although I'm using must, the second one, which is I must talk to my parents, this is a weak form of obligation, right? So this is without consequence, that is. But the former one, which is I must meet with my supervisor at least once in a week, this is more formal, okay? More duty bound, more law bound, okay? Okay, understand the difference between this. So must can show both weak and strong obligation depending on the context, okay? Yeah, question? Anything that you were asking? Is that clear? That we use must for both weak and strong obligation, right? So if it's a formal context, if it's a more professional formal context, then it is stronger obligation used to show stronger obligation. But if it is social and self-imposed context, more at a personal level, then it is weaker obligation. But for both strong and weak, if it is about obligation, then we use the modal verb must. Okay. Yeah. So this is all about it. I think we don't need more explanations or lessons or talk on modal verbs. Just listen to a lot. So if you have to perform well in modal verbs, the point here is that you need to watch more English content, right? Of course, reading helps, but then the presence of
Oh,
modal verbs in in writing is a little limited, because you will find that only in formal communication, right? In emails or in messages that are drafted or reports. So everyone may not have access to that kind of documents, or you probably, if you're students, you're not even participating on a large scale in such kind of formal professional communication. So what you should do is you should be watching more content in order to understand how modal verbs are used in the language, right? So please make it a habit that you watch something or the other so that you get more acquainted with modal verbs and phrasal verbs, both of them. Both modal verbs and phrasal verbs, your practice has to be by through listening activities. Okay. All right. So can we look at the worksheet then? This is a very easy worksheet to look at because you don't have semi-models and other things. I've curated only a very simple one. So we have two exercises. One is a conversation, right? And this is from George Yule's Oxford Practice Grammar. This is a good one. So can we take a minute or two and you first read the whole conversation with the blanks, and then we can look at each of them one by one. Okay, and after that we go to the standalone sentences. Do you have a different session at this time between 4 to 5 for any other
No, ma'am.
subjects?
No, ma'am. I don't have.
Okay. Okay.
Statistics class is going on, ma'am.
It's going on. Is it a TA session or
Open session, ma'am.
It's within open session.
open session? Okay, okay. So that happens every Monday, or is it just that today it happened to be at 4? Is that a weekly class or is it just for today?
I'm not sure, ma'am, that it's
Okay.
happen on every Monday.
Hmm.
Ma'am,
No,
it's
ma'am, not weekly.
weekly,
weekly.
not. Yes,
Hmm.
ma'am.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Ma'am, today we have one session, presentation skills
Yeah,
session.
that's at 5:30, right?
Yes, ma'am, 5:30.
Yeah.
Ma'am, could you explain us what is this?
You're supposed to work on this one. Just read through that, and we'll be using the
No, no, ma'am.
and
Sorry, ma'am. I'm asking about the presentation session.
presentation session. You attend the session, no? Go to the class at 5:30. They'll talk to you a bit about how, I mean, both how to prepare the manuscript for the presentation as well as how you both write and speak for the presentation. It should be very useful. I think it's a workshop, so it might happen for 2 days, 3 days. How
Yeah,
many
I think,
days
ma'am,
is the
for 3
workshop?
days, 2 or 3 days it is, I think.
4 days in total. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. She'll talk to you about how to make effective slides, what goes into the slides, how you prepare a manuscript, so on and so forth. Okay. Have you read through? Have you been able to take a look at the conversation? Just read it, skim through it quickly. You don't have to read it word by word or anything because we'll anyway be looking at for solving it, right? Ayush, you have a question? Yeah, Ayush, I see you. Please speak up.
Hello.
Okay, so let's take a look at this conversation that we have here. So you understand those options, right? So the first one is apostrophe D, which could be anything, but because it's an exercise on model verbs, I think it's basically would, right? Short form for would, and that apostrophe LL is will, short form for will, and the option won't is used twice in the conversation. I mean, two blanks will The rest of it is okay. So you have two other options there. Do you see that apostrophe RE and going to? So are going to and was going to. This is what
Yes,
we call as the semi-modal verbs. Okay, so they are a different category of verbs which can be used to function like modal verbs, right? So are going to, was going to, has to, need to, ought to, supposed to. So these are all what you call as semi-modals. You don't have to be bothered with it for this semester. I mean, for this course, you will have them in English too. But because they've shown up, these are called semi-modal verbs. So the difference between this kind of semi-modals and the core models is that I told you core modal verbs don't carry any tense, right? So they can't exhibit tense. But semi-modals, they inflect for tense. So you can say are going to, were going to, was going to, is going to. So they can exhibit some tense, but they function similar to some of the modal verbs. Okay. So it is going to rain. What is this? So this is basically an indicator of possibility. So instead of saying it could rain or it can rain, you are saying it is going to rain or it was going to rain, right? To show that this is something that happened in the past, you change it to was, right? So they have similar functions with some modal verbs, hence they're called semi-modals. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the conversation. It's 9:30 a.m. and Dave, a helpful friend, has just arrived at Sarah's flat. Sarah, hi Dave, thanks for coming so quickly. Dave, no problem. Sarah, dash, you like a cup of tea or coffee?
would
Dash.
want
Ma'am, would.
Okay. Would you like a cup of tea or coffee? So now with each of the blank here, you'll have to tell me in what sense is the modal verb used. So how is the modal verb would used here? Is it used as, is it used in its core meaning or is it used in its formality, polite meaning? Would you like a cup of tea or coffee? Core meaning is what for would? Hypothetical, unreal, imagine. No, is it used in that sense in this blank?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No. Right? This is mostly to show politeness. Okay. So would, could, should, and might, they have additional functions of making the context polite as well. In this case, would is used to make it polite, right? This is not showing its core meaning of hypothetical, unreal, imagined. No? That function is not the one that it is performing here. Okay, so would you like a cup of tea or coffee? Dave, oh, no thanks. I've already had some. Sarah, I dashed phone you last night when it started, but then I realized it was after 11 o'clock and you dash probably be in bed already. First blank, I dashed phone you last night when it started.
I shall.
I shall phone you last night. No.
won't ma'am.
Ma'am was going to.
Was going to, yes. Oh, I was going to phone you last night. Okay. I was going to phone you last night when it happened. So, sorry, when it started. But then I realized it was after 11 o'clock and you dash probably be in bed already.
Ma'am, you would be.
You would probably be in bed already. So, what is would used here as? Is it hypothetical or is it again the politeness element? You would probably be in bed already. Politeness again, right? You would probably be in bed already. It's not showing any hypothetical situation here.
Yes.
Dev, right. But what's the problem? Sarah, it's the toilet. The water dash stop running, and I'm afraid we dash end up with a huge water bill.
Won't ma'am.
The water won't stop running, okay? And I'm afraid we what would you use? You could also say would here, but then since we have already used up would twice, right? What are we going to use here? We are going to end up with a huge water, right? The water won't stop running, and I'm afraid we are going to end up with uh, a huge water bill. Okay, not are actually were. We were going to end up with a huge water bill. Okay, so since it's apostrophe RE, it could either be are or were. But given that this is in a past context, we use it as were going to, right? Although when you write it in the contracted form, it doesn't make much of a difference, but we should know that we are using it as were and not as are. Okay, so and I'm afraid. Oh, sorry, this is I am, right? And I am afraid. So this has to be are going to. Okay, I am afraid we are going to end up with a huge water bill. Instead, if it said I was afraid, then you would say I was afraid we were going to end up with a huge water bill. You understood that difference, right? The ones who are
Yes,
listening.
ma'am.
Yeah. So we're using are here because it's I am afraid, right? So the tense is already indicated with another verb. So we're using the are. Okay, Dave. Well, let's take a look. Dash we.
Shall we?
Shall we? So shall is used to show what? Is it is it used to show obligation, or is it used to show formal permission?
Formal permission.
Formal permission, right? Shall we? Okay, Sarah. Oh, I hope it dash be a big problem.
Won't be.
Won't be. Oh, I hope it won't be a big problem, right? So we have exhausted both the use of won't. Then Dave. Oh, I dash worry if I were you. I dash worry if I were you.
Ma'am would have.
Wouldn't, right? So look at this. I wouldn't worry if I were you. Now here, what have we used? Of course, it is used in the negative form, but which meaning of would have we used here? Oh, I wouldn't worry if I were you.
Ma'am, core meaning.
Core meaning, right? Hypothetical. I wouldn't worry if I were you, right? This is a hypothetical, straightforward hypothetical situation. So would is used to mean in its core form here. Okay, I wouldn't worry if I were you. These old toilets sometimes just need a little help. But first, I dash show you how to shut off the water supply in case this ever happens again. I dash show you how to shut off the water supply in case this ever happens again. There's only one left there, right?
Ma'am, I
This is,
think I shall.
shall is over, no? We already used shall. And shall, remember, we use it to show legal obligation or to seek formal permissions, core meaning, right? We use will, right? We have an apostrophe LL that is will. So, but first I'll show you how to shut off the water supply in case this ever happens again. Now, this is intention used with the core meaning. It's not prediction, not used in the future tense. This is used as a model verb to mean intention. So he's showing his intention to show the girl, Sarah, to shut off, to show her the process of how to shut the supply off, right? So used to mean as an intention. This is not a promise or this is not a threat. This is used as an intention. Will is used to show intention. Okay. I'll show you how to shut off the water supply in case this ever happens. Okay. So this is an example of how real life conversations, this is more natural in setting. I just wanted to give you a gist of how this works through this exercise. Now we are going to look at the second exercise, which is more like, they're all standalone sentences. So for each of the sentences, the modality of expression is indicated in the brackets. So based on what is indicated in the brackets, the hint and the meaning, the context in which the modal verb is used, you can choose one among the three in the second bracket. Okay, one among the three modal verb in the second bracket. So first question here is, my grandmother is 85, but she dash still read and write without glasses. The context is to show ability, and you need to choose between can, could, may.
Ma'am, can.
Can.
Right. So my grandmother is 85, but she can still read and write without glasses. Okay, expression of ability. Second one, dash I come with you. can, will, would.
Can.
Can.
Okay, can. Can I come with you? Less formal permission. Okay. Third one, dash you help me with the housework, please? Polite request. Could, will, should.
Ma'am, could.
Oh, could, right? Polite request, could. Could you help me with the housework, please? Now, fourth one, there was a time when I dash stay up very late. Expression of ability, would, could, can. There was a time when I dash stay up very late.
Can.
So here, will you use can or will you say could? Remember, could is also used to show ability, right? I told you about this.
Yeah,
It is
ma'am.
used to
It
show
will be could.
ability. Yeah, it would be could because you have a past tense construction already. So since can and this cannot go together with the past tense construction, right? We'll have to use could. Okay, there was a time when I could stay up very late. Okay, that is the fourth question for you. And then fifth one, you dash not lose any more weight. You're already slim. Necessity. May need should.
Ma'am,
Should.
need.
Need, right? Need. You need not lose any more weight. So need, need to, need not are also semi-modal verbs, which indicates necessity. So they are similar to your core modal auxiliary must. Okay. So they're used in that sense, but this is semi-modal, right? Which means it can undergo change in the tense, right? You need not lose any more weight. You are already slim. This is necessity. Now, we dash make the first move. Prohibition. Must not, will not, cannot. Prohibition.
We must not. Must.
Yeah, we must not make the first move. So prohibition is associated with what? It is associated with strong obligations, right? So prohibitory statements are, of course, formulated from a strong obligatory point of view. So which is why you'll use must. And since we're talking about prohibition, we have to use it in the negative. Must not. We must not make the first move. It is snowing outside, so I dash stay at home. Intention. May, will, can.
Will.
Will, right? Will. It is snowing outside, so I will stay at home. Intention, you'll use will. Eighth one, I dash get you a shawl from Kashmir. Promise. I think this question we already discussed as an example. Will, would, can, may.
Ma'am, will.
So if it is to show promise, then you say, I will get you a shawl from Kashmir. Ninth one, dash you mind if I borrowed your car? Permission. Will, would, should. Yeah, this is, I'm a little interested in this question.
Ma'am, it will.
Which one? Sorry, will. Will you mind if I borrowed your car?
Would.
Would.
Yes, yes. This is what I want to know from you. Why will, why would? Or which one is more suitable, will or would?
Ma'am, would is more formal, ma'am.
Why?
Because we are asking someone to if we can borrow their car or not.
So which one is more suitable, you said?
Would, ma'am.
Would. So why is it okay? You're partially right, but you have to give me more.
Ma'am,
More
yeah, I
of
think it will be would. Ma'am, like it is making a polite request,
it's like making a polite request. Okay, so so permission is like seeking request. But then did I say, like, does it mention does it mention that it is a polite request? That's my question. It simply says permission. So you're right.
Yes.
If you want to make it polite, then you use would, right? But here I simply say permission. I'm not indicating any degree of formality. I did not say formal permission.
So, ma'am, it can be will.
It will be will, right? So
Will.
it is grammatically right, but this is a less polite form. Okay. It's a less polite form, and usually when you're seeking permission, people would make sure that it is polite, right? So which is why in English, you may not find the sentence, will you mind if I borrowed, very common. It's not common. What you would commonly say is, would you mind if I borrowed? Because it's a very, it's a request. It's like it's some kind of a permission that you're seeking. So
Yes, ma'am.
in normal spoken context, people will want to make it polite, right? Because you're seeking help or you want permission to use something. So while more common is to say, would you mind if I borrowed your car? Saying, will you mind if I borrowed your car is not grammatically wrong. It is grammatically correct. It just means that this is a less polite version of the other. Okay, that's all. Now look at the
So
10th
the
one.
answer will be will, na?
Answer will be will here. Yes. For this
Because
question, the
they are-
answer will be will.
because they are written the permission for that, na?
Yeah, because it does not explicitly ask you to, fill in the blank with something that is a polite request or a permission. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. 10th one then, dash you take care of my dog for a day. Polite
Ma'am, would.
request, will, shall.
Would.
Yeah,
Would.
so good. Yeah, would
Would,
you
ma'am.
take care of my dog for a day? This is polite request. Correct. Now, 11th one, I dash swim when I was 6. I think this also we discussed.
Yeah, ma'am, it will be could.
Can.
Could, right?
Could.
Not can, could, because see the other part of the sentence is in past, right? When I was 6. So could is used to show past ability, except that could doesn't encode the past time reference, but was here does the job. So we use could. Okay. So I could swim when I was 6. 12th one, she dash sells her home because she needs money. Weak possibility. Weak.
Might.
Ma'am,
Might.
may.
Might, right? Might. May is for stronger, higher possibility. Might is for weak possibility. So she might sell her home because she needs money, right? Weak possibility. Okay, that's all. So as far as your course is concerned, I think this much is enough. If you understand this much, it should be more than enough. Of course, there are other complex parts to it, which you will definitely learn in English too. One whole week of lecture on modal verbs. But for your purpose at this point, this should be more than enough. Any questions that you have before we wrap up today's session?
No, ma'am. Not related to this.
No? Okay.
No. Ma'am, but I'm asking that the syllabus for this quiz 2 is week 1 to 8.
Correct. Week 1 to 8. Yeah, that's right.
And can you please, ma'am, suggest some important topics or that can be more frequently asked in the topics that can be asked in the questions in quiz 2?
I think you can look at the mock or the previous year papers, right? That should guide you better.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, take a look at that. But then I think you will have questions from all the topics. At least a question or two you will definitely find from all. So do not take too much of risk. If you're sure with a topic, maybe you can take it a bit light or skip, but then do not completely ignore that, right? At least solve a few practice questions from that.
But
area.
ma'am, more weightage will be of week.
No, there is no
wait.
weightage. The weightage is equally distributed across weeks. At least that's how question papers are set.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. I'll see you again next week and maybe again on Wednesday for the live session.
Okay, ma'am.
So thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
We'll see you again. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Yeah.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye. Okay. Yeah.